You're welcome. Now don't crinkle. Our ideas of personal success and quality of leadership are often tied to titles, tasks, and large-scale popularity or recognition, when in reality, our day-to-day interactions have the greatest impact on our long-term success and our leadership opportunities. So it follows that how we communicate with, relate to, and generally treat one another is critical to our success, both professionally and personally. In business, it's all about who you know. Why? Because business is built on relationships. Harvard studies, Forbes articles, and many others have all found that knowing who you're doing business with makes it easier and more profitable. Yet, we still struggle to make meaningful connections. Loneliness, isolation, and depression are all on the rise. And according to a 2017 workplace learning report conducted by LinkedIn, 89% of companies cannot find employees who can effectively communicate. 89%. When we are crying out as businesses and people for connection, why can't we find it? It could be because we keep using the same old rules and they don't work. Specifically, the golden rule, which says, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. But that's not enough. We need to upgrade to the platinum rule, where we do unto others as they would have done unto themselves. We need to learn how to act from a different perspective. And since I've already learned this the very hard way, hopefully all of you can learn from my mistakes. I want to share my personal struggle and growth in realizing the value of genuine communication on every level. For the last 5 years, I have been researching and experimenting with how to cultivate relationships using the power of perspective and empathy, and the positive impact this has in the workplace for both the team and the individual. Here's what I discovered. 8 years ago, personality tests would reveal I didn't like small talk. If someone wanted to communicate with me, they should give me the Titanic Cliff's Notes version. Ship sank, or ship sailed, ship sank, and get out. I didn't need a, how was your weekend, before getting to the work part of the conversation, because I didn't think it mattered or was worth it to take the time to have small conversations with people. I wanted to focus on my job in order to be successful, and that meant being the best, having responsibilities, having leadership roles. Then, I was paired with a few assistants. And surprisingly, my blunt, no-nonsense attitude didn't go over very well. One relationship actually resulted in me receiving an official write-up in my file. Now, for those of you thinking, so what? Let me share that I like to be right. This was documented proof of being wrong. I didn't like that. And what's ironic is that I actually cared so much about doing a good job and being successful in my tasks. I was doing a terrible job connecting with my team because I didn't even acknowledge my coworkers as being on my team or tied to my success in any way. More devastating than my write-up, I began to feel left out. My coworkers would be laughing together, having lunch, teaming up on projects. I was never included. I also noticed that they knew things about each other, like Kathy's kids' names or where Kevin was going on vacation. I didn't know any of this unless I happened to overhear it in their conversations. I began to think no one liked me because no one said hello or asked me to have lunch with them or wanted to collaborate. I felt isolated and unwanted. One day, I shared some of this with my boss, and she asked if I would want Chatty Cathy's job, which was basically taking customer service troubleshooting calls all day, many of which were the same conversation over and over again, just with different people. No, I would not want that job. So, my boss pointed out that Perhaps there's value in her small talk because it's exactly what our customers want and therefore makes her excellent at her job, which you would never want. Perhaps. Shortly after this, I attended a leadership conference, and I saw author Simon Sinek speaking on his book, Leaders Eat Last. He shared that if you want to be a leader, you have to act like a leader, regardless of your position. Essentially, we all have the opportunity to positively impact those around us. But it starts with us, our attitudes, our actions. We have to be the leader we want to have, and we become that leader. And in that moment, I realized I'm screwing it up. I've been defining leadership as a title, as a set of tasks, rather than the kind of impact I was having on my team. I've been waiting for some magical opportunity to lead, when every day was my opportunity. Every day, we have the opportunity to lead. I mean, why would someone say hello to me? Why would someone ask me to have lunch with them or team up on a project? I had made it very clear that I didn't care. I didn't want to chit-chat. And you're probably listening to this thinking, duh. It's so obvious. And you're right. It is so clear that I was preventing myself from being included. Not because I was a bad person, but because my perspective was too narrow. I'd been treating others as I wanted to be treated. No nonsense, let's get this done. My coworkers wanted to chat first, build a relationship, and I was shutting them down. Often, we think we're communicating well, but we're not looking outside of ourselves to realize we're part of the reason 89% of companies cannot find employees who can effectively communicate. What I discovered after this light bulb moment was my ability to appreciate the abilities of my coworkers. Kathy's chattiness helps her resolve customer service calls. Brandy's ability to assist and do smaller start-to-finish tasks makes her good at data entry. And through this discovery, I begin to care about my coworkers and their stories about nothing. Because they aren't about nothing. They are about everything. And they tell me about how they want to be treated. So how do we implement empathy? How do we communicate our desire to share and understand the feelings of another? I began by meeting people where they are, not judging the value or importance someone else placed on a topic, stressor, problem, complaint, or for that matter, a joy or celebration. I simply listened and gave verbal acknowledgement that feeling stressed is hard. Being woken up in the middle of the night by a cat is terrible. New puppies are awesome. Finding a great deal on strawberries is exciting. And when someone is sharing this with me, it doesn't matter that I'm dealing with a 3-year-old who will no longer sleep in his bed while nursing my 6-month-old, while my husband is probably being laid off, and this really isn't the best time for that. Because life isn't a competition. And when someone is sharing their pain or hardship with you, they don't want to hear that you have it worse, so they shouldn't feel how they feel. They want you to empathize, to share their struggle, to share their joy. We all have this opportunity, and that is leadership. In order to have successful relationships and effective communication, we have to take another person's perspective and value it. This is called perspective taking. And this is that example on a micro level in the office but it is the same on a macro level out there in the real world, and it is imperative to our ability to genuinely empathize with someone. It's easy to do with our friends or people who are very similar to us, because those are our people. That is our in-group. It requires conscious effort to empathize with someone different than us, someone in our out-group. I've been viewing my entire team of coworkers as my out-group, so I didn't care or value their small talk. Once I shifted my perspective, made the choice to meet them where they are, learn from their perspective, I made a connection with them, and a stronger connection with myself. I don't want to be a leader because I can mark the checkboxes on a to-do list. I want to be a leader because I make people feel heard, valued, and good. Because that's how we all want to feel. To do that, I have to take other people's perspective and value it. To be my best, I have to want others to be their best and help lift them up to get there. Because we succeed and fail together. I'm not saying they need me. I'm not saying they will never be their best without me, or that I even have to agree with their perspective. I am saying to have successful relationships and effective communication, I have to try and see their perspective. I have to try and understand the situation through their lens. Here's an all too common example. When we have to apologize to someone that we don't think we should have to, we like to say, "I'm sorry if I hurt you," or "I'm sorry that you feel I hurt you." Is that genuine? If we take the other person's perspective, take the platinum approach, and simply say, "I'm sorry I hurt you," that's the stuff relationships are built on. By putting our ego aside and acknowledging how someone else feels, regardless of our perspective or opinion, we connect. Because we see them, and we hear them, and we all have that opportunity. So now I know I care about people. I am validating, empathizing with how they feel. I am treating others as they want to be treated. I'm saying hello in the morning. And when Brandy shares that her homework is stressing her out, I listen. And I remember that when I had homework, it stressed me out too. And just because I no longer have school assignments doesn't mean I can't relate to a heavy workload with due dates that sometimes seem impossible to meet. And it's working. People are including me in conversations, asking me to have lunch with them, asking to team up on projects. And if you're listening and you think that this won't work for you because you're a remote worker, I'm happy to report I have a very healthy, successful relationship with my current remote assistant of 3 years. So not only am I rocking it in my relationships, I'm doing it long distance. You've heard the quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Yes? You've used this quote? You think it's totally cheesy that I'm bringing this up? Me too. Here's the thing. We know this quote. We use it. Sometimes we manage to live it. When we do, every day on a small, possible scale, it works. If you want successful relationships, leadership roles, cohesive teams, and effective communication, you have to start with yourself. Stop judging yourself. Stop judging others. Stop treating conversation like a competition. Instead, honor and value the perspective each individual brings to the conversation, even if it's about the strawberry sale. The next time someone comes into your office, has a meal with you, or comes over to hang out, put your phone down and give them a genuine, focused connection. Listen to them. Empathize with them. Value their perspective and treat them how they want to be treated. They will feel the difference, and so will you. No, this will not work 100% of the time. You will be out there being the change, and some people are going to resist the change because some people don't like change. Being a leader means you do the right thing anyway. Being a change agent means you do it anyway. You lift people up, and when you focus on that, you can't help but rise too, because that's what inspires. That's what creates change. I made it my mission to communicate with intention, and I achieved this by treating others as they want to be treated. I hope you'll join me. Thank you.